What's up, guys? Today we're going to be ranking every team in the NBA for next season. This offseason has been crazy with so many trades, signings, and a crazy draft. Without any further ado, let's get into it. At number 30, I have the Sacramento Kings. The Kings were trash last year and didn't add any good players other than Darius Acuff Jr. I think that Acuff was a great pick at number 7, but I don't think that he can stop this team from being the worst in the NBA. The Kings have already lost DeMar DeRozan, and they're probably going to lose Russell Westbrook also. The main problem with the Kings is how old they are and how bad they are. Domantas Sabonis was injured all of last year, and Zach LaVine is washed. This team is going to be bad now and for the foreseeable future, and that's why they need Darius Acuff to be a star for them. But until that happens, I have the Kings winning around 20 games and being the worst team in the entire league. Next up is the Milwaukee Bucks, who traded away Giannis. Giannis has been in trade talk with the Bucks for the past couple of years, and they finally traded him. They got so many draft picks and players in this deal. That includes Tyler Hero, Kostas Yakichones, Khalil Ware, and Jaime Jaquez. None of these guys are really a star right now, but they could develop into a star in a couple of years. Nate Ahmet and Braden Burries can also be really good draft picks from this year's class. And Tyler Hero could have motivation to become a star. But for now, everyone knows that the Bucks are rebuilding and aren't going to be very good next year. And that's why I have them at 29, winning around 23 games. At number 28, I have the Brooklyn Nets. Similar to the Kings, the Nets were already trash last year, and they didn't get good luck in the lottery. The Nets drafted Mikal Brown Jr. and traded Nick Claxton for Julius Randle. I think that Randle has an opportunity to show what he once was by becoming a number one option again. But before that, he has to go behind Michael Porter Jr. I also think that Mikal Brown Jr. was a really good pick to get, and I think that he can be a star in this league. But the Nets need to win now. They don't own their first-round pick, and the Rockets could get a really good pick next year based on how this team looks. If the Nets want to be good next year, they need big leaps from everyone in their 2025 class, like Danny Wolf, Nolan Traore, and Yegor Demon. And that's why I have the Nets winning around 25 games next year. Next, at 27, is the New Orleans Pelicans. Similar to the teams you just heard, the Pelicans were trash last year. But unlike the other teams, the Pelicans didn't own their first-round pick, so they didn't get any good draft players on their team. The Pelicans also didn't sign any notable free agents. I do think that Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen can develop on this team, though. But if this team actually wants to be good, they need someone to play good. And I'm looking at you, Zion. Trey Murphy was also really good last year, and he's been in a lot of trade talks this offseason, but I think that they're going to keep him now. But with the lack of moves, I have the Pelicans at number 27 for next season, winning around 25 games. At number 26, I have the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls actually added players this offseason that include Caleb Wilson and Norman Powell, and I think that both of these players can make a big impact in year one. They got Caleb Wilson by moving up to the 4th pick, which was pretty lucky. But I think that Matas Buzelis will have a breakthrough season and show why he was worth a lottery pick in the 2024 NBA class. This team has a growing amount of young talent, and I think that they have a bright future in the league. But for next season, Josh Giddey is their best player, and I don't think that you could even make the play-in tournament like that. But for now, I have the Bulls winning around 30 games and being the 26th best team in the league. At number 25, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies made 2 major moves this offseason, trading away Ja Morant, their franchise player, for Chris Murray and Jeremy Grant, and then they also drafted Cameron Boozer with the 3rd pick. I think that getting rid of Morant is necessary for the future because he had a bad contract and he hasn't been healthy for a while. I also think that Cam Boozer can make a really big impact, and I have him winning Rookie of the Year. I don't think that the Grizzlies are going to be the best next year, but it's important that their young core keeps on growing, with Zach Edey, Jalen Wells, Cedric Coward, and Gigi Jackson all being a part of that group. But for now, the Grizzlies don't have a really standout player, and that's why I have them winning around 30 games and being the 25th best team in the NBA next season. At 24, I have the Dallas Mavericks. As you probably know, the Mavericks traded away Luka Doncic a few years ago. But after that season, they landed the number 1 pick in the lottery and drafted Cooper Flag. And after Cooper Flag's rookie year, we know that he was worth that number 1 pick, and he's one of the best rookies ever. But the team around him right now isn't really great. The Mavs drafted Wes Johnson Jr. and traded for Zachary Uzashay this offseason. But I think that their main addition is going to be getting Kyrie back from his injury. I think that Cooper Flag and Kyrie can be a real dynamic duo in this league. And I think that will be a good fit with him. But we aren't sure how Kyrie is going to return after missing all of last year. And he could be washed. I mean, other than those players, they have Max Christie and Daniel Gafford as the next best players. And that doesn't really sound like even a play-in team. But for now, we just have to see how Kyrie fits in and how Cooper Flag develops for next year. And that's why I have the Mavs as my 24th best team, and I'm seeing them win around 33 games. After the Mavericks, we have the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets traded away LaMelo Ball in a shocking trade that gave them Nas Reed and a bunch of draft picks. The Hornets were finally starting to blossom last year, and then they make this shocking trade. The Hornets still have a great young core in Con Knuppel and Brandon Miller, but it's kind of shocking that they traded away their best player. The Hornets drafted Hans Steinbach and Christian Anderson Jr., and I think that they can both be semi-impacts the first year, but mainly this team is going to rely on Kobe White, Con Knuppel, and Brandon Miller to succeed. Speaking of that trio, I think all of them can improve next year, since they're all pretty young and they all have a lot of room to grow. I might be a bit low on this team, as they've defied expectations in the past, like last year, but I'm not sure if I can rank this team that high without LaMelo Ball. But for now, I have them winning 33 games and being the 23rd best team in the NBA for next season. At number 22, I have the LA Clippers. The Clippers recently traded away Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors for Grady Dick, Brandon Ingram, and draft picks. They also drafted Keaton Waigler with the 5th overall pick. I think that this team could excel expectations next year, but I don't think that they have enough star power to be that good, with their best player being Darius Garland or Brandon Ingram. They've made some additions this offseason, though, bringing in Rui Hachimura and Keaton Waigler. But in a West that's really tough, it's hard to see this Clippers team doing that much next year. But I think that they could make the play-in if they play good enough. But until that happens, I have the Clippers winning around 34 games and being the 23rd best team in the league. Number 21, I have the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors have Steph Curry, but they doesn't have much help around him. They missed out on potentially getting Kawhi, LeBron, and AD. Now they're stuck with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, who's aging, Jimmy Butler on a $50 million deal, who's going to be out for a long time, and Kristaps Porzingis, known as Tingus Pingus. The Warriors also have Brandon Bajemski, who's hated by the Warriors fans, but he's getting better. But the Warriors need to either trade away Steph Curry to start a rebuild, or they're going to be stuck with this team going in next year or the year after. Another bright spot on the Warriors, though, is them drafting Axel Lundberg, who's going to be an immediate help in year one. But now, even if the Warriors have Steph Curry firing on all cylinders, I don't think that this team is going to be good enough to make the playoffs unless they add somebody else. And that's why I have the Warriors winning around 38 games and being the 21st best team in the NBA. At number 20, I have the Phoenix Suns. The Suns shocked all expectations last year. They were supposed to win around 30 games, and they ended up winning around 40 and being a playoff team. But this team still has a bunch of holes in it. Other than Devin Booker, Dillon Brooks, and Jalen Green, this team doesn't have any semi-good players. Suns added Miles Bridges and Kobe Beat, who are great additions, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that they can really push the needle. Devin Booker needs to have a big year if he wants to prove that he's not just the normal star and that he's one of the best players in the NBA. I also think that Mike Williams or Cameron Mallock can have a big breakthrough season and show why the Phoenix Suns can have a center. But until they have another move, I have the Suns at number 20, and I see them winning around 39 games and possibly making the play-in. If you're liking this video so far, make sure to subscribe as we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Anyway, at number 19, we have the Washington Wizards. The Wizards were the worst team in the league last year, but they added talent. They traded for Trae Young and Anthony Davis, who they both bought low on, and then they landed the number 1 pick, who they drafted AJ DeBonster. I'm not sure how Trae Young and Anthony Davis are going to do in their first year, but I know that if the right fit happens, then they can be really good. The Wizards also have a stockpile of young players like Bilal Coulibaly, Trey Johnson, and Bud Carrington. But the main one is obviously AJ DeBonster and Alex Lar. I do think that this team is going to take a bit of time to fit in, even though they have a lot of star power, because a lot of these people haven't really played much, like Trae Young or Anthony Davis, and AJ DeBonster's a rookie, so it's probably going to take him time to adapt. But this team is a lot more talented than all the teams mentioned before, so I have them winning around 40 games and having them making the playoffs after being in the play-in. After the Wizards, I have the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks showed why they don't need Trae Young last year, with a breakout season from Jalen Johnson, Tyson Daniels locking people down, CJ McCollum being clutch, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker being the most improved player. This team also had the Pelicans pick, who they used to draft Kingston Flemings. If the Hawks have another big year of improving, or they show flashes that they did in March, I think that they could be a playoff team right away. But for now, I think that they'll go into the play-in and might make the playoffs. And that's just because, I'm not really sure about a second star behind Jalen Johnson. Maybe CJ McCollum could be that, but I'm just not sure what he could do. This team is pretty deep, though, and they have a stockpile of good players. But until they show those flashes, I have them winning around 40 games and being the 18th best team in the league. At number 17, I have the Houston Rockets. This might be surprising since the Rockets were better last year and they had high expectations. But late in last year, this team collapsed and they don't have the best chemistry. Kevin Durant also sat out a bunch of games, and I'm not even sure if this team can make the playoffs next year. The Rockets do have a great starting 5 in Şengün, Kevin Durant, Amen Thompson, Reed Sheppard, and Jabari Smith Jr. But other than that, and those players aren't the best fit next to each other. But other than that, the bench isn't the most loaded. The Rockets are getting Fred VanVleet back, however. I don't think that addition pushes the needle very much, because they weren't the best even with him playing. But it will sure help their spacing for next year. But now, I don't see them being the best team that they were last year. And I have them winning 41 or 42 games, and they are my 17th best team in the league for next season. After the Rockets, we have another surprising team in the Orlando Magic. This might be higher than you have the Magic, but I think that they're going to be really good next year, with Franz Wagner being healthy. Anthony Black, I also think that he's going to have a breakthrough year next year. And Paolo Banchero could be more efficient. The Magic kind of went well on expectations last year. They made the playoffs and were up 3-1 against the Pistons, but then they sold the series. But the main reason why they were even in that series is because Franz Wagner was injured basically the whole year, and when he was playing, he was dealing with that injury. Next year, I think that will be fixed, And I think that Desmond Bain will have another great year like he had last year. So I have this team making the playoffs up front, and I see them winning around 44 games, but I'm not quite sure on that yet. And I have them as my 16th best team in the NBA for next season. After the Magic, I have the Utah Jazz at number 15. The Utah Jazz are very similar to the Wizards. Both of them were a bottom 2 team and have been tanking for the past couple of years, and they both landed a top 2 pick, which the Jazz drafted Darren Peterson at. They also both have a stockpile of good young players, and they bought high on other players at the deadline who are going to return, and I think that both of these teams could be pretty good next year. But I have the Jazz being higher because they have more proven stars in Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. I also think that Ace Bailey can really break through, and Keontae George can show why he was a star last season when there are more people watching him. I just mainly think that this team is going to be good because of all the depth they have. They have Kyle Filipowski, they have Ace Bailey, they have Bryce Sensabaugh, and they also have Darren Peterson, along with so many other players that are a bit more proven than those guys. And that's why I see the Jazz winning around 45 games next season and making the playoffs. At number 14, I have the Portland Trailblazers. The Trailblazers bought low on Ja Morant after he's been injured for a couple years and he was suspended. But I think that if he's healthy, he can make a big impact for their team. The Trailblazers are also getting Damian Lillard back from his injury that way tore his Achilles with the Milwaukee Bucks. This team just has so much depth, but they do have a problem with not many wings and they have a lot of guards. They have Deni Avdija, Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson, Drew Holiday, Ja Morant, and Damian Lillard. All those players are guards, and Deni Avdija could be a small forward, but most of those players play guard. And other than Toumani Camara and Donovan Clingan, the best players are all guards. So that's going to be a problem for next year. But this team is loaded at the guard position. Players like Yang Hansen stepping up can fix that issue, as he was a high pick in the 2025 draft class. I think that this team can have another breakthrough season, and all their young players will develop again. But for now, I think that they need to work on spacing. That's why I have them at number 14 for next year, winning around 45 games. At number 13, I have the Boston Celtics. The Celtics shockingly traded away Jaylen Brown for Paul George and 2 draft picks, which I think was a stupid decision. But I still think that this team could be good for next season. They have Jason Tatum, who's going to be better than last year after his Achilles is healing. They have Derek White. Then they also have Paul George, who they recently acquired. But the Celtics aren't just about the stars. When they won in 2024, and the past couple of years, they've been relying on other players stepping up, like Sam Hauser or Peyton Pritchard. And I think that those players can be really good for them. The Celtics always find a way to adapt, no matter what their circumstances are. And even though trading away Jaylen Brown is really bad, I still think that this team has a bit too much talent to be a play-in team. And I think that they're going to make the playoffs next year. I think that they're barely going to sneak in, but I still think that they're going to be a playoff team. And I see them winning around 46 to 47 games. And that's why I see them as the 13th best team. After the Celtics, I have their rival, the LA Lakers. The Lakers lost the ball this offseason, but they made up for it by adding a bunch of other players. This includes Quentin Grimes, Walker Kessler, and Mamu. Other than LeBron, the Lakers also lost a bunch of other players. This includes Rui Hachimura, Marcus Smart, and Luke Kennard. After the LeBron left, the Lakers are trying to build a whole new team around Luka that focuses more on defense. And we've already actually seen this work in Dallas back in 2024 when the Mavericks made it to the finals. I think that this could work again, but the league is a bit more stacked now. And Luka needs a better second option, because right now he has Austin Reeves, and before he had Kyrie, who's much better than Austin Reeves. The Lakers also got a steal in the draft in Cameron Carr at number 22, I believe. and I think that he'll have a pretty good rookie season. And overall, I think that the Lakers are going to make the playoffs, but I think that they'll lose in the first round, and they need a breakthrough season from someone on their team if they want to be serious title contenders. At number 11, I have the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers made it to the finals in 2025, but last year with Halliburton injured from that Game 7, they were the second worst team in the league, and their draft pick ended up being number 5, and they had to give it to the Clippers in their Ivica Zubac trade. I think that's going to take this team a while to get back where they were with Halliburton's injury, but I think if they're healthy, they can be one of the best teams, as they showed. This team should have a strong returning cast, though, with Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Halliburton returning from injury, and Andrew Nembhard, Ivica Zubac, and many other players, like their free agency signing, Kelly Oubre Jr. Other than Kelly Oubre, this team didn't add any players in the offseason, but Ivica Zubac, they traded for him in the regular season, and he's going to be back next year, so it was basically an off-season addition. But unless this team can be the same way that they were, being super lucky in the playoffs, and being a bit clutch there, I think it's going to be hard for them to make it to the finals again. But I have this team winning around 49 games, and I think they're going to start slow, but once Halliburton's back, they're going to pick up the pace. And that's why they're my 11th best team. After the Pacers at number 10, I have the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons were the 1 seed in the East last year, but I think that the East has gotten a lot stronger. The East has added Kawhi, Bam, and LeBron. Also many other players from the draft. The Pistons traded for John Collins. They added Isaiah Joe and Ibuka Okoro. I don't think that these are the best additions, but I think that they add a bit to this team. I think that the Pistons are mainly going to get better due to development again. From Jalen Dillon, maybe Cade Cunningham, and likely Isaiah Thompson. Speaking of Jalen Dillon, I'm not sure if that they're going to get them back, but I feel like they would. But the main thing with the Pistons is they just didn't improve much in an East that's gotten way better. And that's why I have the Pistons at number 10, winning around 49 games. At number 9, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs were swept in the Eastern Conference Finals this year after trading for James Harden. And it was a letdown of a season after all the hype they had after the trade, but they still made the Eastern Conference Finals with a little time being together. I think that this team can gel a bit more, but with Harden as their second best player, it's going to be pretty hard for them to win in the playoffs. The Cavs were trying to sign LeBron James, but they didn't get him, and he went to the Sixers. The Cavs also lost Dean Wade, and while it might not sound like much, he was a good role player for this team. But the Cavs did draft Malik Thomas, and I think that he can be a good scorer, as he showed in the Summer League. The Cavs still have one of the best big fours in the league, with Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. This team has lost some depth recently, and I think that that's going to affect them a lot. Oh, and it's also unsure if they're going to re-sign James Harden, but I think it's really likely that they will. But anyways, the Cavs are just kind of staying put this offseason, and they haven't really made any big changes. So I have them winning 51 games, and they're my 9th best team in the NBA for next season. At number 8, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves traded for LaMelo Ball this offseason, and they also traded away Julius Randle. It was really shocking that they could trade for LaMelo Ball, especially since the Hornets just had a breakthrough season. The Timberwolves did give up a lot of draft picks, though, and they also gave up Naz Reid, who was also a good player. This team also drafted Isaiah Evans, who wasn't the best in the Summer League, but I think that he was a great value and the second-round pick. But the main thing that you're going to focus on is how is LaMelo Ball going to fit into this team. I think that he's actually going to fit in well, but this team lost Julius Randle and Naz Reid. And you may think that isn't much, but these players are really good in Minnesota's system, and it might take them a while to get back. But I think that if LaMelo Ball can fit in well with Anthony Edwards, which he likely will, but it might take time, that this team can be a top 10 team in the league. And I have them at number 9, but I think that they're going to have a slow start and then take over later on in the season. And that's why I have them winning 52 games next year. At number 7, I have the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets were eliminated in the first round last year, which was pretty shocking as they were one of the favorites to win it. The Timberwolves did match up well against them, but the Nuggets were mainly bad in the playoffs because Jamal Murray kind of fell off, and so did Jokic. This team is the only team in the second apron right now, and they need a bit of help if they want to get where they once were. But whenever you have a team of Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon, and Jamal Murray, you probably aren't going to be that far off. The Nuggets are going to have a tough time trying to re-sign Peyton Watson, and they might trade Christian Braun or Cameron Johnson. This team needs to do something. I think they need to change something up if they want to be back to playoff contenders or like the best team in the league. But I still think that this team is a contender because when you have Nikola Jokic basically averaging a 30-point triple-double and Aaron Gordon throwing down monster jams and Jamal Murray being the best second option in the league, or one of them, I think that this team can be unstoppable. But until that they can prove that they aren't playoff fallers, I see this team at number 7, and I see them winning around 53 to 54 games. At number 6, I have the Miami Heat. The Heat traded for Giannis Antetokounmpo this offseason, and they gave up a bunch of players, as we talked about earlier. I think that Bam and Giannis can be one of the best duos in the league this year, but I'm a bit concerned about the depth around them. Other than those two, they have like Davion Mitchell, Andrew Wiggins, and not good supporting cast for those guys. It doesn't really matter when you have Bam and Giannis. I mean, Bam is most known for his 83-point game, and Giannis has been one of the best players for the past decade, actually. The Heat also have a great culture, and they bring in a lot of guys that improve a lot. But I think it's going to be really hard to have a good supporting cast with like who they have now, and I don't think that those guys can improve a lot. But who cares? You have Giannis and Bam. Like, what much more can you ask for? I think that this team is going to take a while because their depth is kind of terrible. But I think that this team is going to win around 55 games and be one of the best teams in the East. At number 5, I have the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors traded for Kawhi this offseason. Or at least it should be going through, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen. But it probably will. And now they traded up Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick and first-round picks. But that was basically it. And Ingram to Kawhi is a big improvement, if you think about it. And the Raptors also have Scotty Barnes. And I think that Kawhi and Scotty Barnes can be one of the best defensive duos and overall duos in the NBA. This team also has a lot of depth. They have RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Jacob Poeltl, and just a bunch of players off the bench as well, like Colin Murray-Boyles. The Raptors also drafted Alan Graves in the draft, and I think that he showed that he's really good in the summer league. I think that he can be a good piece and a good power forward for them. But I think that mainly this team is just going to be way better than last year with the addition of Kawhi. And I see this team actually winning 55 games, and that's why they're my 5th best team in the NBA. At number 4, I have the NBA champion New York Knicks. The Knicks just won the championship last year, so you think that number 4 might be a bit low. But this team didn't really add any players, and plus there are a bunch of other teams that have gotten way better. I don't actually think that this was the best team last year, but they really showed it in the playoffs, and they had a bunch of comebacks. I think that this team could finish as the best team in the East, but I have them at number 2 in the East right now. But I still think that this team's gonna be competing, and they could go back to back. But I don't think that it's gonna be that likely with all the other teams in the league being more stacked. The Knicks did lose Mitchell Robinson, but I think that they did a good job keeping everyone else. And I think that this team, if they have the same clutch aspect as last year, with Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby going crazy in the playoffs, I think that this team definitely could win back-to-back. But I'm just not sure right now. That's why I have the Knicks at number 4 in my rankings, and I see them winning around 57 games. At number 3, I have the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs made the finals last year, and a lot of players on their team are set to improve, so you may think that they should be number 1. But there are other good teams on this list. And also, I think that the Spurs may never get back to the finals again. I do think that they will, but they could not. This team has Wemby, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, and they recently signed Tobias Harris, and Julian Champagnie and Devin Vassell, and that's one of the best cores in the league. They also have Luke Cornett. Carter Bryant is also probably going to improve this year. I didn't mention him yet. And obviously Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, and Wemby are probably going to improve. And the Spurs actually drafted Jaden Quaintance in mid-20th pick, which I think was a really good pick for them. This team didn't add much, but they didn't really need to. They made it to the finals, and they were leading for most of the time in the finals, and all their guys should get better. But I think that they could lose this year earlier, and they could win, but I don't think that they will. But I think that they'll lose earlier because the league has gotten a lot more stacked. And that's why they're my number 3 team, and I see them winning 60 games next year. At number 2, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder were the best team in the regular season last year, but they lost in the conference finals against the San Antonio Spurs. I think that this team, with the healthy Jalen Williams, can be much better, as they showed in the 2025 season. This team also drafted Dave Mara and Bennett Sturts in the draft, and they're going to have a lot of improvement. This team was pretty active, trading away Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, and Lou Dort, and they got a bunch of second-round picks for that. They mostly did this to clear up some cap space, but I think that the second-round picks could be valuable in the future. As you know, Sam Presti loves powering up those draft picks, and I think that with those people gone, it can leave other people more room to shine, especially the rookies and Bennett Sturts and Demara. I think that this team is going to be really good next year. I think that they're going to be at least the same as last year, maybe even better, with a lot of the players still being young and having room for improvement. But for now, I just have them at number 2 because there's going to be another better team coming up, and I see them winning around 63 games next year. At number 1, I have the 76ers. The Sixers have obviously just traded for Jaylen Brown, and they signed LeBron James. Both of those moves were incredibly good, and as they traded Paul George and 2 draft picks for Jaylen Brown, which is one of the best trades maybe ever. And also they just got LeBron on a contract for $4 million a year, which is crazy for how good LeBron is. The Sixers also drafted LaBelle and Firon, and that was a good addition with their draft pick. But I think that the main thing is how good their starting 5 is, and how good their bench is. Their starting 5 consists of Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jaylen Brown, LeBron James, and Joel Embiid. That's one of the best starting lineups maybe ever. And then on the bench, they still have Dean Wade, LaBelle Firon, Anthony Simons, and they can still add other players, like they just added KCP. I think that this team is going to win around 67 games, and I have them winning the whole thing. They're my best team. And that's going to do it for this video, but make sure to subscribe because more videos like this are coming out soon. And please like the video, hype the video, and comment what you want to see next.